So what is it like being a software engineer? What do I do on a daily basis? And what programming language should you learn to make the most money right off the bat? What? Let's go ahead, let's talk about that.
Welcome to the Roughnecks. I'm Rico, your ecom instructor. I'm a software engineer, a military veteran, and a six-figure ecom seller. I've helped over 400 students on Amazon alone, and thousands more make money online. If you need to know anything about making money, you're going to find it out right here.
So guys, welcome back to the Roughnecks Ecom channel. I'm your cadre, Roughneck Actual, aka Rico, and over here we talk all about that e-commerce life, how to make money online and offline, depending on what it is. If that sounds good to you, make sure you subscribe, click the little notification bell so that way I can help you out. Also, check out the description, the video description, because there's links down there, free Facebook group and all that jazz, if you so choose. Now, let's go ahead, let's break it down, because this is one of the questions I get all the time, all right? And I really couldn't talk about that on the Two Dudes channel because, that's all Amazon based, but over here, it's my channel. I can talk about what I want. So we're gonna talk about whatever I feel like, and hopefully it helps you out. So what is it like being a software engineer, okay? Now, I should preface this because depending on the role, there's software developers and then there's software engineers. And in some cases, depending on the company, it could be the difference between being the engineer who designs the whole car or the technician that works on that vehicle. So you have automotive technicians and you have automotive engineers. Okay, and it's kind of the difference between a software developer and a software engineer, depending on what company you work for. Now, sometimes a software developer can be a software engineer, and same thing with a software engineer being a software developer of sorts. But let's just talk about what I do as a software engineer. So how does my day begin? My day begins by going to a scrum, which is basically a meeting where we talk about everything that we're going to be doing, everything that we've done, if we have any impediments, if we need to reach out to another team or something along those lines. And it's the agile principle, with the product lifecycle. So agile means that you're agile. You can change according to the requirements of the product, okay, or the project. The waterfall method, not so much. You're pretty much here. This is what we're building, and then boom, you build it all the way down. That's it. The requirements are not going to change. This is what it is. This is what you're going to do. With us, our projects tend to change a lot in size and scope. So you have to be able to adjust for that, and that's what the morning meetings are for. All right, and it's a huge help because then you can really reach out to other people, if you need that extra help. You guys talk about it in your meeting. You're like, yo, this is what's going on. I need help with this and this and this and this, or, this is my impediment. I don't know what I'm going to do about it. And, generally, your product owner or product manager will, square that away for you. Now, a good chunk of the day, depending on the day, is spent, in meetings and in planning things out, because that's what engineering is, guys. It's not necessarily just sit there, code all day, and that's it. You do have to plan out your next steps. You'll meet with your product owner or your product manager, depending. You may meet with other teams, and you guys will discuss how to build out the framework for that actual application. Okay, as a developer, you're typically just going to be sitting there coding, right? It's boom, let's code this and get it done. But when you're an engineer, you have to design everything to include the big picture. Okay, so it's not necessarily just I'm going to code all day. It's how do I build out an ecosystem that's going to allow for this product to operate efficiently and to the best of its capacity? So you're trying to build out different systems, use different technologies. Like, hey, this app is slower here. Like, can we spin up services faster? Do we need to change this? Maybe this should be a relational database instead. Maybe we should create microservices instead of having one big service. Should this be a REST call or should it not be a REST call? There's a lot of things that go into that. So, you spend a lot of time actually going through meetings and trying to plan out what's actually going to work and, the best way to do it. So there's that. And then, of course, you actually do get to work. You do get to code. You sit there and you code away. And, I've worked at various companies at this point. And, so some of the work environments are different. Sometimes you work in what's called the office of the future, and the office of the future is, it's more open, and you guys can kind of interact with one another. If you're sitting at a desk, the walls are generally lower, or there may not be any walls whatsoever. You guys may be able to just look across the table and see each other and collab, and it definitely does work. But that leaves out a level of privacy that some people may want, because most engineers are introverts. If you guys haven't noticed, most people in the tech field are not near as outgoing or loud and rambunctious. We do have fun, but we do kind of like our privacy, and we kind of like to sit back and do our own thing. But there's also cubes, and a lot of bigger companies are trying to move away from this because they want people to collab. But where I currently work, we have cubes because our office is not the office of the future, and I don't mind it because I still get to collab with my coworkers. And if I cannot, just look across the table and see them, I can still, instant message them through Skype, or some proprietary messaging service. So, it's not all that bad. I know a lot of people will say that, it's kind of terrible because, you feel walled off and stuff. And sometimes you do, sometimes you really, want that human interaction. But you guys can do paired programming, have someone come over to your desk. You guys sit there, bounce ideas off one another, which is something that I do quite frequently, just because it helps to have another perspective. If you come up to an issue, or if you decide that maybe this is not the best route, maybe having a second set of eyes is something that you need. And then at the end of the day, you kind of tally up what you've done, and you present that the next day at your scrum. But being a software engineer, there's a lot more than just coding. Like I was saying, guys, you really are involved in a lot of things. There's a lot of documentation that you'll be writing up, to help people who come after you, right? You don't just want to code and not have that code be reusable, or at least explain what that code is doing inside the notes, and maybe on like a Confluence page, or just a page in general, saying, hey, this is what I built out, this is how it operates, this is what you should do if you're trying to do something similar, and maybe you can reuse this section of code in your own thing, or you can import it to a different project and it'll call these different services because you're going to need the services for that project. So there's all types of different things that as an engineer you have to think about. And I didn't necessarily think about that as like a level one developer. I didn't really think about the engineering big picture, because I was just doing my own thing. I was kind of shoehorned into this one particular thing. Hey, this is what I want you to do, that's it. So I really didn't see the overall architecture until I started progressing, and then got into the engineer role, where you are thinking more of how to solve the problem, not necessarily just code, but how are you going to solve the problem? How are you going to solve it efficiently? And how are you going to create something that's reusable, so if this problem ever comes up again, someone else can follow suit and solve that problem even quicker than you solved it, right? So there's a lot of moving parts, but once you get it down, it tends to work itself out, and it's it's a pretty lucrative career field. I have no complaints about it. I know some of you guys are wondering what kind of education I have, and I obviously have my undergrad. I went to Penn State. I love the school. Go Lions. But you don't necessarily need a degree. You can go to a code camp, and in some cases you can get a very good starting position. But I know some of the bigger guys like Patrick Bet David, Dan Locke, all these guys, they're saying like, oh, you don't need a college degree and this and that. Google and Apple aren't requiring college degrees. And while this is true, they're not requiring college degrees for a lot of different positions. But if you want to be a top tier, developer or engineer at those companies, you will need, at least you'll need your undergrad, and potentially you'll need a master's. And it's really not just because you go to a code camp and it teaches you how to code in a certain language, whether that be JavaScript or Java or, HTML, whatever. When you go to a university, the curriculum may be boring as far as like your gen eds and stuff, and it's not something that you want to take, but the curriculums help you think like what you're going to become, and it gives you a wide breadth of information. It's not just just like, hey, code, here's this programming language. You're going to learn about algorithms and discrete logic. You guys will be learning about circuitry in some cases. You'll be learning, system architecture, networking, security. You'll be learning a bit of everything to make you a more rounded, engineer moving forward. You know, that's really the difference between someone who took a code camp and learned how to code versus someone who went to a major university and you know, majored in like computer science or computer engineering or even electrical engineering. You know, it teaches you how to think of the system as a whole and not just someone who's going to be typing away on a computer. So I would recommend, you know, if you want to advance in like the engineering role, definitely get into a major university. You know, you don't necessarily need to get into like Princeton or Harvard or anything like that. You can still go to a state school and do very, very well for yourself. But, you know, make sure that you do have some form of, you know, undergrad. If you do plan on taking this to the next level, okay, if you plan on going and being like, you know, the top tier, like a tech lead at Google or Apple or Microsoft or whatever, all those tech leads, you know, do have at least minimum their undergrad, if not, you know, a more advanced degree or more advanced certifications. Now, if you guys just want to get into coding and make a very good living for yourselves and work your way up the ladder, you know, going to a code camp is absolutely perfect. A lot of companies will accept that. You know, some of the companies I've worked for do not. You do have to have an undergrad at bare minimum. You know, maybe they will change that, but for now, it is not changed. So you guys are probably also wondering what's the compensation. So coming from someone who has, you know, multiple friends in the industry, you know, my first couple of job offers, I got, you know, several straight out of college. I already had my, you know, my job offer and my job already lined up by the time I graduated. You know, my first offer, my first set of offers were like the low 60s, you know, for this area. And, you know, then I was able to get, you know, higher offers, you know, around, I think like 70 or so, you know, with the highest offer being like 75, you know, for an initial person fresh out of college, which, you know, is pretty good in my opinion. You know, it's a very comfortable living. You guys can easily make six figures within a few years. You know, most of my friends, you know, have jumped ship to other companies, and you know, they go from like 75, 80 to 100K when they're, you know, they get a little experience under their belt and they move into another role. So if you guys are looking for a six-figure career, this is definitely one that you can get into. But you know, you kind of have to, you know, gauge on what you want. Do you want stability, or do you want the ability to run out and, you know, make top-tier money much quicker into your career? Just remember that at some point, you know, we do become too expensive if we go out and do that. So you will cap yourself if you don't get into upper management or move into like a lead architect role. So remember that. But yeah, guys, that's what it's like being a software engineer. And hopefully that, you know, enlightens you a little bit and shows you that you can make money, not necessarily just, you know, in the e-commerce space, but, you know, also doing something physical. You know, we'll probably get into why I still have, you know, my day job and why I enjoy it so much. You know, in another video, and you know, talking about how entrepreneurship and being an employee kind of conflict with one another, but how you can mesh that into like a synergistic relationship. Yeah, so guys, hopefully this has been informative. You guys already know what to do. You know, if you think this channel is cool, make sure you subscribe. You know, click the little notification bell, check the descriptions below. Yeah, man, so be safe, be smart. I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Hopefully you guys decide to go out there and become software engineers, because it's awesome and I love it. If you guys have any questions, make sure you reach out. You can always, you know, comment in the description. I'm just not in the description, but in, you know, in the comments, or reach out to me on like Facebook, Instagram, email, whatever. You know, I always respond. So yeah, man, peace out, be safe, be smart. I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one.